Welcome to Inside Builder channel, large language model automators, Python experts, and my dear friends. Can you tell me about Argilla and how to install Argilla server on a local Linux machine? In the last video that I had introduced uh, installing Argilla using Hugging Face subspaces, I had discussed about the parts of the Argilla server. So the front-end UI, the Python client, and the vector store, and the various ways in which you can install Argilla server. So in the last video, we discussed about the Hugging Face hub. This video, we are going to discuss on the local installation. So we will understand how the Argilla server can be installed locally on a Linux machine, and what are the parts involved in that will be discussed in this in the following video. We will be also installing the Elasticsearch vector store and the front-end UI in this video, and we will be using especially the Docker images. If we go back to the quick start, just a second. In the installation options that is available in the Argilla documentation, you can see that there is a Docker quick start and there is Docker compose. You can click on Docker compose and we can use the Docker compose file that has been provided in this particular link. So we can directly start working on this Docker compose file, and we can use the Docker compose up -d command to run the servers. So let me connect to my Linux machine. So this is AA controller, is the Ubuntu Linux machine that I am right now going to use. Already I have got the various servers, various Docker images that is required, and I have already installed it. So I am going to show you the images that I have already got. Docker image ls will show you the various Docker images that I have got in my local machine. So I have this Kibana, the Elasticsearch, and I have Argilla server. All these three are coming from the Docker compose file that is provided in this location. So this Docker compose YAML file that you see here, this command wget will go into the GitHub user content and get this particular file. So where is this file located? In my case, the Docker compose file is present in the repo, the GitHub repo that I already shared with you guys in the earlier videos. I'll be sharing that also in the description below. This will be inside the projects exploring Argilla. Just a minute. So in my case, I have already downloaded this Docker compose file that I was showing, and it is present in this Docker. You can see that I have this Docker compose.yaml file. All you need to do right now, after you installed your Docker application on your Linux machine, is you have to just say Docker compose up. So that's what you need to do after getting this file. In this case of the command, what happens is Argilla has given a command which does both of these things. It downloads this file using wget, and once the file is downloaded to this name docker compose.yaml, excuse me, let me zoom in a bit. So yeah, I think this will be better. So docker compose.yaml, once it gets downloaded to that file, the docker compose up -d, this particular command brings up all the Docker images inside the Docker compose file. So that is done automatically. But in my case, I have first of all done this, and then I am going to do this right now. So let me execute this, and let me bring the server up first. So when you're going to bring the server up, this particular shell you will not be able to use anymore. So once I execute this, you will not be able to further use it. Just a second. Let me execute this command. Let me zoom in a bit so that you guys can see better. So this is the command that I'm going to execute, and this command has to be executed inside the folder that has the docker compose.yaml file, or else this command will not work. So let me execute this right now, and you'll see that it is actually going and looking at the files, and it's actually starting the file. So you can see that it has started the Kibana image, it has started the Elasticsearch, and it is also starting the Argilla file. So now the server should be up and running. So how will you know that the server is up and running? in case of my server, the server name is AI controller, and it's hosted on 6900 port, and you can see that my particular service up and running, and I can use this username Argilla as username and password as 1234 to sign in. So that is how the local installation is done. Yeah, it is as simple as that. If you thought that it's going to be very much involved, actually no, it took less than 5 minutes. All you need to do is only thing that I had done specifically is to separate this process, to get this docker compose file first and then run the docker compose up. In my case, it was pretty fast because all the images were already downloaded. So this step that you see here, it's already downloaded, and here I used -d so that it can be detached from the shell. So right now the servers, I mean the dockers are running, but the logs are not shown to us, but in the backend it's running. You can also see that this particular server that I have brought up right now, I have already done a lot of activity on this. I have tried to experiment with various data sets, and you can see a lot of data set here. And one of the data set that you saw in the earlier videos, the ds-1 is also present here. And you can see that this particular data set does not have any records. So what we are going to do is, in this video, we are going to populate this particular record. So we are going to go back and go back to the same notebook that we are working on the last discussion, and the same discussion, but we are going to work with this particular user. I'm going to zoom in. So in this case, I'm going to use a local user as Argilla. The password is 1234, and the API key is argilla.api key. How did I know this? You have to go back, and if you go to AR here, go to settings, and you can see the username here, and you can see the copy key. So if you copy the key and if you come back here and if you paste it, you'll see that it is argilla.api key. So that's how I got all this information. It's already there for you guys. Only difference, as you can see here, is the username in case of the Hugging Face Hub is different. So we are using owner in case of Hugging Face Hub spaces Argilla server, but in case of local, we are using Argilla as the username. And the password is 1234, but in this case is 12345678. So these are the small variations, but this is not going to modify any of the Argilla server usage. That's going to be going to be same. And another thing that you notice is the URL. In case of URL, this is my local mission's name and the port. So this is what I need to provide. In case of Hugging Face subspaces, I would have given this. This particular space, I have already taken it down, so this space will not be available anymore. You can actually make it private also, but I have taken it down completely. It's not required. So I'm going to execute this cell, and most importantly, in order for this client to work, you should create a separate virtual environment. I had explained in detail in the earlier video on how to create the virtual environment, how to do the installation, etc. of the libraries that is required using the requirements.txt. So kindly follow that, and then only you can execute these cells. I don't need to execute this particular cell because I'm not going to work with the HF spaces. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect. By using rg.init, I can connect to the new server that I already have, that is this server. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to add records to ds-1 dataset. So how am I going to do that? For that, I'm going to, first of all, I don't need to create the space. I'm going to use the space, workspace. So go back and look at the home, and you'll see the workspace in which ds1 is called as local Gilla. So you need to know this name so that we can use that when we are going to pull the data. So if you scroll down, there is a place where we can actually pull the data from the server. So rg.feedback dataset from Argilla, this is the name of the dataset, and this is the workspace. The workspace is local Gilla. So this has been already created, and then let me actually execute this. Let me execute this particular cell. So this is going to give me connection to the ds1 dataset, and then I need to, just a second, I need to create the records. In order to create the records, I need to use the rg.feedback record, and I am going to create two records. So the I am so happy record and I feel so sad record. And after that, I'm going to add the records to ds1. So not to dataset.add. This is another one dataset. Don't confuse with this. I have to add it to ds1. So if you scroll one, I need to use ds1 dot add underscore records, and I need to call the records. So once I execute this, what will happen is the activity would have been completed. And if you come back, you'll see that there are two records right now. So that is I am so happy today record, and I feel so sad today record. And I can actually submit these records. And once I submit it, you'll see that it will be no longer under the pending, and it will actually move. You reach the end of the queue. You can see that here. And if you go to the submitted records, you will have two records right now. So here in this discussion, in a very brief discussion that you have seen, we learned about how to work with how to install the Argilla server using the Docker Compose, and how to connect to the Argilla server using the Python client. Now we are going to dive a little bit deeper into the Docker Compose file, just for you guys to understand it better. So I'm going to do a vim on the Docker Compose file, and let us see what is there inside the Docker Compose file. So here you see that it starts with the Argilla service, and the image that it is getting pulled is Argilla server latest. So this is pretty straightforward, and it's starting on the port. The point I wanted you to see here is the Argilla Elasticsearch also gets connected here. So this particular link actually goes down. If you scroll down here, so let me do the scrolling, and you'll see that there is one more service called as Elasticsearch, and this Elasticsearch is actually pulling the Elasticsearch Docker, and that Docker is getting started, and it is connected to the Argilla network here. You can see the Argilla network, and the ports are also mapped here. And every service that is getting pulled will actually has its own volumes, and also it has its own ports also. The second thing that you notice here is that there is another one Docker called as Kibana. So this Kibana is an application that helps to visualize the Elasticsearch vector storage, and also how the Elasticsearch vector storage is used from the by using an UI. So that is what this Kibana does. I'll be discussing it separately if you guys want, so you can leave a comment on that. Next, you can see that in the Elasticsearch environment itself, you can see that we are giving the Elasticsearch URL, and we are giving the Elasticsearch host. All these things are done under the Elasticsearch. Also, right now you must be aware that there are three images that are getting pulled. One is Kibana, another is Elasticsearch, and the third is Argilla server. The Argilla server has both the front end and the back end. It's not separate. In case of the Hugging Face Up spaces, we would have seen that both front end and back end was getting installed. I showed you the process also in the Hugging Face Up logs. The same way you can see that here also. Apart from that, you can see that you can modify the user configuration in this particular Docker Compose. So if you are going to modify the users.yaml file and to have different kinds of usernames and different kinds of users enables or disabled, you have to modify these things, these lines. So this is what the Argilla development team had provided the comment upon. So if you uncomment these things, the default username, password, and the API key will get modified. So you have to be aware of that. And once you remove these things, you need to update the users.yaml file, which needs to contain the respective usernames and password. At this moment, you don't need to worry about these things. But if you are from the backend development, or if you are from the administration side who is trying to learn about how to install Argilla and in a local machine, then you know right now how to do it and what are the settings that you need to take care of. Most of the information you can go to this particular link and you will be able to get that. So I'm going to go there, And here it has a very detailed explanation on how to work on the user model, how to uh, modify the users, what are the powers for various users, and how to further create the YAML file. All the options have been provided here. And also it's not just that, it also provides the way to create the users from the Python client also, and Python CLI. In the last discussion, I did not discuss about the Python CLI. You can actually list the actually you can call this Argilla from the CLI also. So right now let me do a quit on this, and if I call Argilla right now, Argilla is okay. This does not have the Argilla environment. Just a minute. This is the Argilla environment. I'm going to call Argilla right now, and it is going to give me the help of the Argilla application. Basically, it's a Python script that is run using the typer library. So typer is a library that provides support for CLI development. It takes a little bit of a time, but it provides a very good help command here. So you can see that you can get the info. So if I do the Argilla info right now I think it should not have any details because I have not logged in. So in order to log in, I need to give the API key and the server details, etc., which is not provided. So you can see you are not logged in. Please run Argilla login. So if I run Argilla login now, this is one more way of trying to work with the client, so that you guys can get used to working with the CLI if you don't like to work with this kind of interface. So just it will take another 5 to 10 minutes to understand this, and after that we can call it a day for this video. So when you are going to run Argilla login, you need to provide the API URL as well as the API key like this. And once you provide these two options, you will actually get logged into the Argilla server. And let me zoom in a bit, and yeah, this is not looking good. And after that you can start doing the various things like getting the info of the server. That's the first thing that you need to do. And you can start looking at the workspaces. You can start getting the user details, creating the user details, and even in fact push the datasets from this area itself. So you can see the client version, and you can also see the details of the server. You can now try to get the workspaces using the workspaces command. So this is all needs to be done after you do the login. It's more intuitive because the entire the client has been written first in Python, and then the respective this particular application has been written. So here you can see the Argilla workspaces needs more information on the name as well as what exactly we need to do with that workspace. So we need to provide the name. Name is local Gilla is the name, if you remember, and we want to list the users. So we can say just list and see what happens. Also, if you scroll up, there are various other things, that what are the data sets available, what is the server detail, commands on the Argilla server management. If you want to start a trainer, you can start it from here. If you want to know who am I, you can do that here also. So let us actually look at the data sets right now. Next, so you can see that it is actually listing. It is listing the two workspace locations, that is Argilla and local Gilla, and the respective details. It's pretty neat, right? And next we will actually see the data sets. Let's run the help just to avoid unwanted waste of time. So the double hyphen help will provide the additional options that you need to share in order to get the details. So here we need to provide the workspace. So we will take workspace local Gilla, and we are going to ask for the list. So this is going to list the various data sets inside the workspace local Gilla. And the same thing we also did with Python client inside. So you can see that the various data sets that is present inside the server, and it's much neater to look at that kind of an output inside the CLI, right? So you see this output, and you can compare that with this output. So it's fascinating to look at a very neat tabular column inside the CLI. So in this discussion, we have come through the process of just installing the Argilla server in your Linux machine, and then understanding the Docker Compose file, changing the user credentials if it is required, connecting to the Argilla server in your local machine, and pushing the records. Following that, we also saw how to do these things with Argilla client on your CLI, that is command line interface. So I believe that you like this video. Do leave a like and share it with others. Leave a subscribe. Do subscribe to my channel. And with that said, I would like to leave this video with 4 words, that is practice, practice, explore, explore. See you guys. Have a great time.